I'm here at the scene of the crime spree, right behind me.
Strange. Vice Mayor Strange, you'll address her properly.
You can kiss my foot.
Mr. Rickard, you're out of order.
FBI, we are asking you to investigate this council. Please look into this council, how they award contracts, the bid process, how they use their positions to benefit their friends and themselves, how they use their positions to attack residents and critics and neighbors and business competition. FBI, will you please look into this?
And I welcome the FBI here. If you notice, Mr. Thompson, with his plea for the FBI and his watchdog group, this city runs the cleanest in this whole county. I guarantee
He was served a federal subpoena this morning.
We did receive a subpoena this morning, and we're going to cooperate 100% with the subpoena.
And most of you who were involved up here, you gaslighted me. You tried to say I was crazy. And now we know that that's not true. And there's a lot of other issues I've been asking about as well.
All right, we're going to go a little early tonight because I want to share with you what happened at the Lynn Haven City Commission meeting yesterday. It was a much anticipated meeting because they had to finally address the issue of their police chief, Ricky Ramie, and the shame that he has brought upon the city of Lynn Haven. But really, they didn't care much about it, right? They went through some formalities. They brought a facacta lawyer in who nobody knew something about him. I wasn't going to say anything because there were so many speakers. I really didn't want to go up there. I only said a couple of things. I asked for a public record request. But I also pointed something out about the lawyer. I didn't know he was there. See, we had a bunch of public comments to start the meeting. And I didn't know the facacta lawyer was in the audience, or I would have elaborated a little bit. So when the public comments were over, it was time for the mayor's comments. And Mayor Nelson decided to start his comments with a presentation that was not on the agenda. You say, Bernie, he's the mayor. He's the chairman. He's running the meeting. He can do what he wants. Okay. But it goes to show how they don't follow the rules, is what I'm saying. And man, it was ugly. It was ugly yesterday. Remember, this all stems from public record text messages that have been floating around on the internet, right? The alleged messages. This is a funny thing that happened. And you've seen and heard about them by now, right? Where in 2018, then Assistant Police Chief Ricky Ramie was texting back and forth with his bro boss, former city manager Michael White. Remember all this? And it turns out they're jerks, for one thing, and unprofessional. And they even coordinated a vindictive arrest, which is the worst thing that I saw on these text messages, despite all the nasty, vulgar stuff. In one of the text messages, and the one that was brought up the most, Ricky Ramie responded to his bro boss, Michael White, who was pissed off at Commissioner Judy Tinder's partner because of a Facebook post. Little things set them off, all right? And because they didn't like a Facebook post that was about city business, by the way, and was shared on Mayor Margo Anderson's page, see, that's what ticked them off. Anytime the broads start mouthing off, these guys get upset. Especially, butch broads. I'm just quoting what they said. So in this one text message, in this one alleged text message, Michael White calls Commissioner Tinder's partner a vulgar thing. And Ricky Ramie, not to be outdone, he says that Butch pee-licking C word. Okay, it's pretty bad stuff, you know. You say, but Bernie, it's not illegal. You're right. We're going to go over that because the facacta lawyer did. I'm going to show you his comments, and I'm going to sort of answer some of his comments. They like to do this. This is a move that cities do. Rather than make the right decision, they will give arm's length buffers and pretend that they did due diligence. They check the box. We have a special lawyer who advised our lawyer, Cole Davis, by the way, Cole Son Davis, Kevin Obos, with that same law firm, quite frankly, with the same law firm that's been bullying the FBI. I used to think, oh, I don't know, Amy Whiteout Myers, the attorney for the Panama City Beach, who gave the FBI an altered document. That's why I've named her Whiteout Myers. I used to think the FBI would take that very seriously. I didn't know that giant law firm, the Shadow knows. I didn't know that they would get away with bullying the FBI. Oh, they got clout, man. It's really remarkable. But that's a game they do. They bring in a lawyer who comes up with an administrative review. We're going to listen to the lawyer. Smart guy. Don't ever think lawyers aren't smart. They are smart. But they're oftentimes very deceitful. And here's the thing about most lawyers. And this is true even for the good ones. And there are some. What did Shakespeare say? Hell is empty and all the lawyers are here, I think is what he said hell is empty and all the devils are here. I get them mixed up. Now, even the smart lawyers are sometimes like what I'm going to describe. What's the word I'm thinking of? I'm searching for a word. What's the word? Condescending. They think they're a hell of a lot. They are smart, and they're probably smarter than you are. But they think they're even smarter than they are. So it's kind of like playing poker. If you've ever played poker, when you sit down at a poker table and you know who the really good players are, and you know they're good, and you play them as though they're good, and they think you're no good, right? You have a leg up on even the good players if you know how to play poker. So if they think you're no good and you know they're good, you got an advantage. That's sort of the way I play with lawyers. That's why I'm 2-0. Bernie the attorney, right? All right, back to this. So this attorney really thinks he's smart, right? And I had just gone up there and said, hey, I got something to tell you about this lawyer. It wasn't really in good faith. You hired a lawyer to do an administrative review on the police chief, but did you know? Did you know that the lawyer was the was also the boss of all the lawyers at the Florida Police Chiefs Association? You brought the boss of all the lawyers in the Florida Police Chiefs Association, and that's the guy that you had do the review. Is this the right screenshot? No. All right, I'm gonna pull it up. His name is J. David Marcy. Is his name? Smart guy, good lawyer. All right, just dishonest. That's all. All right, so check it out. I'm going to show you who he is because it's important because he was so dishonest. So dishonest. All right, check this out. So when you type in his name, J. David Marcy, the second tab that comes up, I didn't just make this up, guys, when I went up there and said this, as he tried to make it seem. But see, here he is. This is J. David Marcy. And this is from the Florida Police Chiefs Association. And I said that he defends police chiefs in things such as discrimination cases, false arrest, things like that. He said that is absolutely false. Right? He said allegations are not fact. Well, I didn't make it up. This is from the Florida Police Chiefs Association page. Let's read sentence number 2 together. Paragraph 1, sentence 2. He defends state and local agencies and law enforcement officers against allegations of civil rights and tort violations, including general negligence, negligent hiring or retention, vehicle liability and pursuits, false arrest. There it is. Right? So why would he say that? Why would he say that he doesn't do that? Well, because he's a real smart lawyer and because he thinks we're real dumb, right? And because he thought he was at a spiritual revival, which I got to say, I sort of thought I was too. So that's not a slight on you, David. But what he said was, and you'll hear him say it, what he said was, I don't do that through this organization. Sneaky, sneaky. Sneaky, sneaky. See, I've taken a look at LSAT a time or two. I know a little logic, but I'm not as good as you. But I caught that. Oh, I raise. So what I'm going to do is show you the facacta attorney and what he told the city commission yesterday. Basically, he said that Chief Ramie has a First Amendment right to call Commissioner Tinder's partner a butch P looking C word. He has a First Amendment right, man. And it would be improper to punish him for a First Amendment right. Think I'm kidding? I'm going to show you, and we're going to talk about it right after this. It's a hot time in Florida, and my friend Ryan could make sure your air conditioning is running at peak efficiency. He could even install a new one, built to a higher standard, American standard. Find out more at pcairrepair.com. Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777. All right, let's get right over to the facacta attorney at yesterday's city commission meeting. But before we do, I want to tell you that he, one of the things that was, we're going to analyze this meeting more, but today I want to focus on the facacta lawyer and the facacta administrative review. That's a legal term if you look it up. If you misspell it, then duckduckgo.com. Don't use Google. They'll correct the spelling, facacta. Now, probably the ugliest thing that happened yesterday, aside from maybe the one lady, and these are all good people. They really are fired up, but geez, sometimes even good people will make a comment that is over the line. You say, Bernie, why are you excusing her and not the chief? Because the chief made it in his official capacity. No, he didn't. It was on his personal phone. He was talking to the city manager. It's the only phones they used, and it was public record by virtue of the content, not of the device. Okay, so there's a big difference between people who go up and express their points of view and cross the line. But one lady said, just stay in to Judy, stay in the closet, basically. Stay in the closet if you don't want the heat, something like that. and nobody said anything. If I were the mayor, I would say, I appreciate everybody's passion, and I'm not going to stop you from saying what you're saying, but let's not do that, right? Let's not insult each other because of who we love or the color of our skin. Let's limit our harsh criticism to what we do in our official capacity here. That's what we're doing. That's what I always do. I don't ever bring that stuff up. You say, Bernie, it's a personal vendetta for you. Wrong. It's a personal vendetta for them. And that's what narcissists do. They gaslight you and try to say that you're doing it. It's also a strategy, by the way. even for those who are not narcissists. You think I'm an amateur? So, but the second worst thing, maybe the most worst thing that I saw was this. Not one commissioner, not the mayor, certainly not Brandon Aldridge, the young opportunist with a dark heart and a dishonest way about him. Certainly not Pat Perno, a sweetheart of a guy, but not somebody who is not usually the pointy end of the spear. Okay. Not the mayor. Not even Jamie Warwick. Jamie Warwick actually took a shot at her. He's the only one who took a shot at her. And I'll explain that too before I show you the facacta lawyer. But not a single one of them said this during their public comments. Nobody said, you know, Judy, I'm sorry that you're going through this. Your partner doesn't deserve it. It was really ugly. We know it's embarrassing. We know that you've made a big deal about it because you were willing to take the heat because you thought that action should be taken. But geez, just as a person, you didn't deserve that. And I'm sorry this is happening to you. I disagree with you. But Judy, as a human being and as a colleague, I'm sorry that this is happening. You don't deserve it. Not one person said anything even close to that. They didn't say a word about it. In fact, do you know how they made her feel? Those who were critical of her for saying that the police chief deserves to be punished. Do you know what they did to a person? They all treated her as though she deserved it. They all treated her as though she was a rape suspect. And, you know, that night, you were dressed a little sexy, Judy. That's how they made her feel. Look, we know it was wrong, but damn, you're asking for it. That's how they treated her. Nobody showed, even those who disagree. And I respect those who disagree. But geez, you can disagree and be harsh about it, but you could also say, you know, geez, you don't deserve this. Nobody did that. No human decency was shown at all. It was ugly. All right. So Jamie Warwick, Commissioner Warwick, he prides himself in being Mr. Spock, right? He's not emotional. It's just the facts. He's a new commissioner. I have said that I think he has the potential to be the best statesman, the best elected statesman in the entire county of Bay County. I think he has more potential than any elected politician, any one of them in Bay County. He's smart. He's deliberate, but he was wrong yesterday about a couple of things. Number one, when it was his turn to talk, he said that he had called the judge and he did his due diligence, which he is known for and is appreciated. He said he called the judge's office and he asked, are these text messages sealed? And he said that the judge's office said, yes, they are sealed. And the facacta attorney said, well, if that's the case, somebody's in big trouble for releasing them. So they brought this sort of intimidation of the weight of the federal government. God help the people who released sealed stuff. And that would be true if it were sealed, because Judge Walker doesn't play, and nobody should be sharing anything that is sealed or under the court order. There's a court order that evidence in the Lynn Haven case that was gained by the defendants after July of last year. Those are under protective order. And nobody better be sharing or talking about those, or you're going to ruin the integrity of the case and get yourself in trouble, because Judge Walker doesn't play about that stuff. But anything obtained before that, the judge, the defense attorneys, and the prosecutors all agreed it's already out there. There's nothing they can do about it. It's fair game. The horse is out of the barn. All right. So what Jamie Warwick did, and he should have asked me, and I've even explained it to him once, is he got confused. All right. He thinks that something that the judge says, I'm not releasing the stuff that was submitted to the court during the public proceeding December 12th and 13th. I'm not releasing it, right? Is not the same as you can't view it. It's not the same as it's not under the protective order. It means he's not even releasing the documents. I mean, the transcripts. I cannot have the transcripts of that public proceeding. But you know what I can do? And so can Commissioner Warwick. One reporter's already done it that I know of. You can go to the courthouse and read the transcripts for yourself. You can go to the courthouse and take notes about the transcripts for yourself, but you can't have them. Okay? That's different than being under seal. And Jamie Warwick didn't understand that. And the attorney jumped on it, as he does everything, to try to scare people and to try to slant things because he's dishonest. So he didn't understand that. The second thing that Jamie Warwick did, was he called Judy Tinder out. He said, I hate that I have to do this, but you supported me in my election a couple years ago, and I just hate that I have to call you out, but I do. And he asked her, he said, have you talked to the mayor about this? And have you talked to the city manager about this? And Judy Tinder said, no, I haven't, which would be improper for her to talk one-on-one with the mayor about it, because this could come up for vote. That would be a sunshine law violation, genius. She could talk to the city manager about it, but if she believes that the city manager is acting in bad faith, she doesn't want to do that. She said, I would be happy to talk to everybody here publicly about it. Nobody wanted to do it publicly. They only want to get her alone. And she's not falling for it, and that's proper. And Commissioner Warwick acted like he was disappointed in her. I'm disappointed in Judy. You should talk to the mayor one-on-one. Are you crazy? It'd be a sunshine law violation, potentially. Come on, Jamie. And number two, if she doesn't have faith, and I'm sure she doesn't, that Vicki Gaynor is acting in good faith, because I don't think she is, it's a waste of time. So let's do it all in public. It's a public issue. Let's do it in public. And Jamie acted like that was unreasonable. So that happened. But it was pretty much, and you'll see that the facacta lawyer does it too, pretty much flips everything back on her. Look what the lawyer said even before I'll show it to you. Say, Bernie, you're taking forever. Okay, I know. Just hang tight. Hang tight. We got all night now, right? Here's part of his facacta administrative review. Look what he said. This is what the lawyer wrote in his administrative review about the chief of police's misconduct. He said, remember this now, Tinder has a history of public attacks on you, it's letters to Vicki Gaynor, and on Chief Ramie. Tinder has a prior history of acting as a conduit for third parties and alleging misconduct by city personnel. She also has been repeatedly cautioned for overstepping her authority as a city commissioner, interfering with the daily management of the city. I want you to remember that, because the facacta lawyer in a moment you're going to hear say allegations are not fact. He's going to say that all Judy Tinder ever heard was secondhand or hearsay. And therefore, it is not sufficient grounds. It is not something that we can act on. Yet, what does he himself do in the facacta administrative review? He makes allegations that are not supported by evidence, that clearly is second, third, or fourth hand information. Is there a single footnote with evidence? Not a one. So J. David Marcy, I know you think that we're just a bunch of dummies at a revival, but you need to do better than that, honestly. If you're going to do this, little song and dance here, because to say allegations aren't fact and then to make allegations that you heard third, fourth, fifth hand, and you frame it in a way that is, one person's attack is another person's criticism. That's shameful. If I were your law professor, I'd hand you that paper back and make you write it again. And if you were my law professor, which is the way it would be, I understand, you would hand me that back. And you know it. Dishonest, deceitful. You got caught. All right, let's watch. All right, let's watch the facacta lawyer at yesterday's city commission meeting. So I should tell you that I kind of messed him up because he had to take about 5 minutes and protest too much. Because just before this, I had told the council, I didn't know he was there. I had told the commissioners, I said, look, he's the general counsel, the boss of all lawyers for the Florida Police Chiefs Association. It's not real honest, I said. I said his job, as I showed you earlier, I better show you again real quick. His job is to, oh my gosh, his job is to defend police chiefs. And he gets up there and he says that that's not his job. But I want you to see in advance what it says on the Florida Police Chiefs Association. You see that? Read sentence number 2, where it says, he defends state and local government agencies and law enforcement officers against allegations of civil rights, tort violations, and including false arrest. It says that on the website. I didn't make it up. So remember that when he gets up there and says that one guy who just came up here was wrong. Allegations are not fact. All right, here we go. Boy, this is so dishonest, but it's so obviously dishonest that it's embarrassing. To me, I'm embarrassed for these people. I just shared the wrong screen. I'm sorry, forgive me. Let me get to him. Those of you who were there, we'll break this down a little bit. All right, there he is. Here we go.
Commissioners, Mr. Mayor. Commissioners, Mr. Mayor, Madam City Attorney, City Manager, Mr. City Attorney. I'm one of your lawyers. I'm not the city attorney, but I supplement the city attorney's office on matters of human resources. I've been representing the city for over 5 years. The current city manager is the third city manager that I've served under. My role is to assist the city attorney's office and to assist this city into making sound personnel decisions. Over the years, I've routinely been consulted on matters of employee performance, employee misconduct, or allegations of poor performance or employee misconduct. I've been consulted at least 20 times, probably significantly more. The outcome of those consultations runs everything from advising the city take no action because there's insufficient grounds to take action, to documentation, to taking action all the way up to and including termination. While it's true I do represent the Florida Police Chiefs Association as another client, it is untrue that I defend police chiefs through that organization. Allegations are not fact, and I'm here today.
All right, did you catch that? Let's remember what he just said here. He said the allegation, he said it is untrue I defend police chiefs through that organization. I said he was the general counsel for the Florida Police Chiefs Organization, and I read from that website that I just showed you, okay, that's exactly what he does, but he added through that organization to pretend that he has no conflict of interest. The city never, ever revealed that. They should have. They should have. A transparent city, an honest city would have done that. And an honest lawyer would not downplay it. you have a conflict of interest. It may not be dispositive. How do you like that term there, lawyer? But you should have disclosed it.
Provide this commission, mayor and the city manager, the facts surrounding the allegations and the results of my administrative inquiry. My role at the Florida Police Chiefs Association is, well, first of all, the Police Chiefs Association doesn't exist to defend police chiefs. It's a private association designed to further the interests of law enforcement, and that includes lobbying, it includes training police, it includes training chiefs and executive level law enforcement personnel, all for the furtherance of community safety and to benefit the public. So the allegation that my role in that organization is to defend police chiefs is untrue.
It's on your website, Jack. So you're the one with the problem here. It's on the Florida Police Chiefs Association website. That's what it says about you. That's what you gave them. This is my favorite part, though.
To the contrary, one of my roles in that organization is to develop and instruct on ethics, integrity, codes of conduct, and I actually conduct internal investigations into.
Wait. Come again. He said that it's his job to train police chiefs on ethics and code of conduct. That's what you do? And you're excusing this? I mean, J. David Marcy, if I can take a little if I can be a little histrionic here, if that's your job, you suck out loud at it, okay? Because I can't believe you would sit up there. You know why he sits up there and says that? Because lawyers are completely disconnected from reality. What they are doing is they're trying to create a perception of reality. And remember, some people like to say perception is reality. No, perception is perception. Reality is reality, but they try to make it look that way to trick people. And our job is to keep them separate and point them out. Already, this guy's got off to a really bad start.
Into allegations of police chief misconduct and impropriety. I've been doing that for years, well before I was contacted to conduct the administrative review of the allegations brought against Chief Ramie. My investigative background goes back 32 years.
Hey, by the way, this is funny. They keep saying, all of them keep saying that these are allegations of text messages. They're not sure that they're real, okay? So they keep saying these are allegations of text messages. We have not confirmed they're real text messages. However, City Manager Vicky Gaynor has put a written reprimand in Chief Ramie's file saying that this kind of behavior will not be tolerated. Really? You reprimanded him on allegations? You don't even know if they're true? They know they're true. They are so dishonest. They can't even keep a lie. I mean, it's just unbelievable. You see what I'm saying, right? So you reprimanded him on alleged text messages that you don't know are true or not. Yeah. And you're not going to tolerate it, as they all tolerated it.
Years, as does my public service. A large part of my practice currently involves representing government agencies, councils, commissions, public school districts. And my role in that capacity is to mitigate risk, to advise my clients, councils, commissions, boards, et cetera, on how to make sound personnel decisions while minimizing the potential for civil liability, litigation, and paying out of judgments for hastily made personnel decisions.
All right, so here's where he's wrong here. He's acting as though if Chief Ramie were fired, Chief Ramie could come back and sue the city. We already know cities don't give a damn about that, all right? They take lawsuits all the time. They do it all the time. They don't give a damn about it because it's paid for out of the Florida League of Cities. What he's discounting is anybody arrested by this police chief, I think, has grounds to sue the city, knowing his prejudices, knowing his personal feelings, and that he has a history of vindictive arrest. This lawyer says he's trying to mitigate risk of civil lawsuits, but what he's actually doing is encouraging more of them. Am I right or wrong?
And I've been doing that for about 15 years. A little over 3 years of my legal career, I was an assistant state attorney where I prosecuted rapes, robberies, murders. I have worked in conjunction with the United States Attorney's Office in the prosecution of state and criminal offenses. I've worked with federal and local law enforcement. I've worked with state law enforcement. I myself have also been a state and local law enforcement officer and have extensive experience investigating all manner of crimes, including rapes, robberies, murders, and complex white-collar crimes. So to suggest that this city retained me because I'm some shill for the police department or the police chiefs is simply unsupportable.
Yes, you are. Yes, you
Now,
are.
the procedure
That's what
that
I
was
wanted to
followed
say.
in this case is exactly the same as the procedures followed in other cases or other allegations of improper or inappropriate conduct raised by members of the community and other city employees against city employees that warrant review.
The lady doth protest too
The
much.
city has an existing procedure that has been in place for at least the tenure of my representation, over 5 years, where they contact HR counsel to evaluate the sufficiency of allegations and to receive guidance on the path moving forward. One of the hallmarks of best practices in the HR community is to make decisions based on facts, not allegations, not bias, not emotions. And I'm here today to talk about some of those facts.
Remember what I told you. He made all these allegations about Commissioner Judy Tinder. She has a history of public attacks. She has prior history of acting as a conduit for third parties. She has been repeatedly cautioned for overstepping her authority without any evidence of any of those, simply allegations. This guy is so dishonest and sloppy that he ought to be embarrassed, but he is shameless.
It can't be disputed that there have been several now former members of the city government and vendors, contractors that have been charged with criminal charges, some of which are still under federal prosecution. It also can't be disputed that the allegations against Chief Ramie were first made by a criminal defense attorney in the defense of a criminal defendant in an ongoing federal corruption prosecution. It cannot be overlooked that the efforts to discredit Chief Ramie and to make allegations against him occurred in open court in front of the United States Attorney, in front of the FBI agent assigned to the case, and in front of the United States District Court judge. The suggestion that there's rampant corruption, that the U.S. Attorney, the FBI, and the United States District Court judge took no action is simply inconsistent. One of the things that I have to advise the city on is to avoid not only the actual, but also the appearance of contributing to the ongoing corruption that is currently the subject of a federal criminal prosecution. I've seen through my efforts as a state prosecutor and my involvement with criminal prosecutions generally, that efforts are often made allegations are often made against witnesses, government witnesses, in an effort to tank the case, to thwart the case, to impeach the witnesses, to mitigate or minimize the evidence that they may provide in a criminal trial. I've also seen efforts to highly publicize allegations against government witnesses and in efforts to pollute a jury pool, to inflame members of the community who are not operating with all of the facts in an effort to obtain a favorable outcome in a criminal case. I'm not saying any of that happened here.
Oh, yeah, right. So then why are you bringing it up? Let me tell you something about this guy. What he really tried to do was scare you from being critical of your police chief. You might get in trouble for tainting a jury pool. It's highly publicized. You're talking about it on social media. Hey, David Marcy, if you would like to have a discussion with me about this, we'll be respectful. We'll counter each other's points. But what you just did was stack the deck. You just said that maybe the media will poison the jury pool by discrediting the government witnesses. Do you know that in this exact case against Margo Anderson and James Finch, that the entire thing has been done on television through press conferences? When she was indicted on August 19th, 2020, it was done on the media. It was a gigantic press conference. You talk about tainting a jury pool. WMBB's been showing her motorhome and saying that ECS cleaned her house for how long now? Even when the judge, even when it's been dropped, look, they've dropped 62 out of 64 charges. That's 97%. If this were a scientific threshold, the case would be thrown out at 95%. You know that the prosecutors have actually tainted the jury pool. They're the ones prosecuting this through the media, but you're trying to act like little old us, concerned about a police chief who clearly did stuff that he doesn't belong there anymore. And people have the right to say that. You're being dishonest. You're the one supporting tainting a jury pool. I'm not saying that happened. I wouldn't say that happened, but I've got to caution you. You're deceitful.
I'm saying we have to be on guard for that. And it's under that umbrella that I advise the city manager on how to proceed. Now, I was contacted shortly after Commissioner Tinder's email was sent out on December 15th. And I was tasked with conducting an inquiry into these allegations. There's no effort to cover up the allegations. Consistent with the process that's been in place for over 5 years, I was tasked with reviewing the allegations and using my experience as a human resources attorney, my experiences in the best practices in the human resource field, in conjunction with my law enforcement expertise and my prior history of investigating police chiefs for allegations of misconduct. And I followed the same procedure I do with other clients. The city followed the same procedure that it did with other allegations of misconduct. As a threshold matter, it's evident that the allegations that were made are not based on firsthand information. They're based on testimony and questions that were asked in open court.
Remember, as he's saying this right now, that he made these allegations second, third, fourth, fifth hand. Tinder has a history of public attacks. Tinder has a history of acting as a conduit. She has also repeatedly been cautioned for overstepping her authority. He did in a report with no evidence exactly what he is claiming that she did. This guy is a complete and utter hack. I can't believe he can sit up there with a straight face and say this. He really thinks you're dumb.
There's nobody that has come forward and said, I saw Chief Ramie do this. It's all secondhand at best, third hand or more at worst. So I'd like to go through the allegations specifically and discuss with the commission the, the results of my inquiry. The first allegation was that former city manager Michael White testified that there was work done on Chief Ramie's boat and it was billed to the city. To be clear, I wasn't in the courtroom. I don't know whether this is accurate or not. My understanding that Commissioner Tinder was not in the courtroom. And if that's the case, she doesn't know whether that's accurate or not. Assuming for a moment that it is, the inquiry revealed that there was no invoices sent to the city and no payments made by the city for repairs to Chief Ramie's boat. Therefore, the allegation is unfounded. It is either A, erroneous, or B, an intentional false allegation.
Okay, that is a false dichotomy. That is known as an either or fallacy, and he knows this. He knows this because if he were, and he did really well on the LSAT, I'm sure, which is the logic test you have to take to get to law school. the answer to that would be that there might be a third one. And what might the third one be? What they're saying is, during the evidentiary hearing that I was at, all right, and so was I believe Commissioner no, she was not at this one because she was a witness. She wasn't in the gallery. What he's saying is, former city manager Michael White testified to the court under oath that Chief Ramie used ECS, Mickey White, to fix his boat and then had ECS bill the city, okay? So what this knucklehead is acting like is because ECS didn't bill the city for fixing the boat, which would be illegal, it could not have happened. No, there could be a third option there, David, that you know, or you got to retake the LSAT. There could be a third option, and that is that he got his boat fixed, just like Michael White testified, and then ECS billed the city for ECS work, because that's how it's done, and you, as a former prosecutor, ought to know that. And if you don't, I'm not going to go there. Just like the current prosecutors, they know, but they're not acting properly. That was dishonest. You think we're dumb, David, but there's a third one. Oh my God. He really thinks you're dumb.
The conclusion of which I was not able to determine at this time. Then there was a discussion, a testimony about the fixing of traffic tickets, also reported at best secondhand. The inquiry in that case revealed that one of the tickets was resolved before Chief Ramie was even hired as assistant chief. The second one resulted in full payment of the citation. So that allegation is unfounded, either A, erroneous, or B, intentionally false. The conclusion of which I was not able to determine at this time. Then there was an allegation about, about a Smith & Wesson handgun and an AR-15 that were purportedly provided to City Manager White. The allegation regarding the AR-15, the inquiry revealed, is untrue.
Okay, so here's what he's talking about. When the Lynn Haven police chief when the Lynn Haven Police Department, okay, when they make a drug bust and they get a whole bunch of cash and drugs and guns, all right, sometimes they like to take pictures of them. And that's not terribly unusual. A lot of police officers do that kind of stuff, and then they share it with each other. The pictures only, not the drugs. That would never happen. But what they do is, in the evidence locker, you've got these guns. And the guns, I guess, need to be disposed of. And it is legal, he says, you'll hear him say it, for the police to take the guns and to give them to somebody to use, as long as that person's not a prohibited possessor. And that's what they did with Michael White. The city manager asked for a gun, got the .40 caliber, which he'll admit, which he said was not illegal, but he left out the part that was the gun used in the domestic violence offense later on. the .40 cal from the evidence locker. What he's saying here is, look, they just took the AR-15 out of the evidence locker and they all went to the range. Okay? They're allowed to do whatever they want with the guns in the evidence locker. It's what police do, and it's legal. Now, if I was on the city council, city commission, I would make a motion that we have a resolution in the city that our police don't do that kind of stuff. You guys have that sort of authority that you, if you wanted to sort of make your police department a little more, I don't know, professional.
Mr. White went to the range with a Lynn Haven Police Department firearms instructor and fired an AR-15 rifle. He was never issued one. He was never provided one.
That they got from the evidence locker.
That sort of thing is proper, it's lawful, and it's common.
I bet.
Throughout the state, I represent agencies My former agency runs, and other agencies run, citizen police academies. They do police ride-alongs, and in some cases, they allow members of the community to go out to a range under proper supervision to fire weapons. There's nothing illegal or improper about it. The allegation about providing City Manager White a handgun is true, but it's lawful. Florida law makes it entirely legal to dispose of unclaimed evidence as long as a weapon is not provided to somebody who is prohibited. That is, somebody who's a convicted felon, subject to a temporary injunction or restraining order, or otherwise unable to lawfully possess firearms. The firearm in that case was provided to the city manager for security in the office and in his role as a government employee. Law enforcement agencies frequently, on a daily basis, dispose of unclaimed evidence, including firearms. So that allegation of impropriety is unfounded.
I bet that's true.
Excuse me, with regard to the AR-15 is unfounded. With regard to the handgun, it's true, but not a violation of law or policy. The allegation about the fixing of an arrest or the setting up of an arrestee, the inquiry revealed that the person that was arrested.
So remember that what the lawyer is describing here, the facacta lawyer, is factual, but missing context, okay? So what he is saying is he's going to describe, which I don't dispute, what is allowed under law. But what he doesn't say is, look, police chiefs also have this code of ethics, all right? Let me give you an example of the code of ethics. Here is the law enforcement code of ethics from the International Police Chiefs Association, all right? And it is completely proper for a city manager, with the advice and consent of the city commission, to fire a police chief for violating the code of ethics, for bringing shame to the city, okay? And he knows that. This lawyer knows that. I underlined just a few of them. How about this? Does it seem like Chief Ramie's lived up to this? I will keep my private life unsullied as an example to all, and will behave in a manner that does not bring discredit to me or to the city. He'll be honest in thought and deed, both in my personal and official life. I will never act officiously. Now, that means hastily, or permit personal feelings, prejudices, political beliefs, aspirations, animosities, or friendships to influence my decision. Well, Michael White, his bro boss, asked him to arrest this lady, and that's what prompted the arrest. This guy left that out. So again, what he's saying is factual, but the context is lacking, and that's why he's a hack, and that's why they brought him in here.
That was allegedly set up, entered a plea to the charge, and entered a pretrial diversion program. Under federal law, the United States Supreme Court, in a case called Heck versus the United States, has held that when somebody enters a plea, there is no viable challenge under a false arrest theory. This is well documented, well known, and therefore the allegations that there was some impropriety regarding in the arrest of this individual is unsupportable by federal law, as set forth by the United States Constitution. The issue of the text messages is certainly problematic, and that seems to be the focus of the concern of many of the folks that have spoken to you today. The issue is not a simple one. It's a very complex one. Government employees, including you as commissioners, police officers, police chiefs, clerk at the tag office, and the meter reader, no government employee loses his or her First Amendment rights when they pin on a badge or when they accept government employment.
So here's the First Amendment. This is when they all became big believers in the Constitution, right? So again, you see what he does here? He says the police chief had a First Amendment right to call Commissioner Tinder's partner a butch pea-licking C-word, okay? It's his right. And if you fired him, you'd be in violation of his First Amendment right to the freedom of speech, right? Which is absolutely absurd and ridiculous because it was in communication with the city manager about a city commissioner, and it was in relation to a post on Facebook that made it to the mayor's Facebook page that was critical of the city. It was city related. And just because he has the First Amendment right to say it, meaning that the government will not punish him for criminally for his comments, does not mean that the city can have a policy that insists, as the law enforcement code of ethics does, that his moral conduct, his professional ethics are above that. Do you see what this guy does? This guy really, really thinks you're dumb. I mean, really.
That includes
First Amendment
the
right
right to discuss topics and to make comments that are offensive. And if you've read my report, I've no way endorsed any of the comments that Chief Ramie made. What the inquiry did reveal, however, though, is that he used his personal phone, not his city phone. The inquiry also revealed that there's no indication at all that he made any LGBTQ or other insensitive, improper, or offensive comments during the course of his role, his employment as the assistant chief. Furthermore, there's no evidence that he made any offensive comments based on those grounds during his role as chief of police. As has been recognized by some of the speakers, these texts were at least 4 years old based on when former city manager White left his employment. During my inquiry, I verified that in that intervening time, at least 4 years, there's not been a single complaint of LGBTQ bias, LGBTQ inconsideration, offensive comments, misogynistic comments, and there's not been a single finding either in an investigation or a court of law that Chief Ramie has said or done anything in his official capacity of chief of police that was insensitive, improper as it relates to any protected classification.
Look, this guy is such a knucklehead. The text itself says, "We will arrest her ass." After city manager Michael White said, "The bitch effed up." You tell me that's not official capacity, huh? This guy's now lying. The facacta lawyer is now lying. Isn't that amazing? We do need to find out how much he was paid for this. Commissioner Tinder can do that. Otherwise, we have to go through a public record request, and it'll take forever, and they'll hide it, and so on and so forth. But I mean, that's pretty amazing, isn't it? Now he's just outright lying. Never done. But here's what was disappointing to me. Not that this guy would do that. That's what I expected of him. But what was disappointing, you want to know what was disappointing, is that no member of the local LGBTQ organization made any comments about this. They were completely silent about this. Now, there may have been members of that community who spoke, but nobody went up there and said, as I've seen them do in other places, they take very strong stands in other places, like, I don't know, schools. But when it comes to this, a police chief making these comments, silence was consent for the local LGBTQ organization. Just pointing that out. Now, there were a lot of, I was standing up. A lot of people were there standing up for, but not them.
Or that he engaged in any conduct that was found to be severe, pervasive, hostile work environment on any basis of any protected classification. Besides that, the issue exists whether or not the city could lawfully take action for conduct against an employee involving matters of free speech outside the course and scope of employment.
It was not outside the scope and course of public employment. It was about an arrest. He's not even being slick at this point. I mean, that is look at all of them. Everybody there is saying, give us some cover. Give us some cover. They think they got away with this. You know, I got to tell you, I'm really happy this happened. Don't misunderstand. I am not upset about this. I am so happy that this happened this way, because what we are seeing is every member up there classifying themselves in real time. We are seeing somebody tell lies, and over time, he's like a Facebook fact checker. Over time, he's going to be shown to be wrong. And everybody up there is going to be shown to not have any curiosity about the truth whatsoever. That makes me happy. I tell you about J.K. Rowling, the author's quote. They keep saying there's no evidence. There's no evidence. Well, there's nothing like looking if you want to find something. They don't want to find it. There's no evidence. Yeah, right. Man. Arresting somebody is not in your official capacity now, huh? He's not even, he's just going through motions at this point.
Duty, and while not using official city equipment. Based on the information that we know to date, it would not be appropriate for the city to take action for off-duty conduct as the type discussed here, despite the fact it was offensive. Now, in my inquiry, I could have very well done a constitutional analysis, and I could have come out and said, there's nothing to see here, but I did not. I think that would be intellectually dishonest, in part because Chief Ramie admitted that he sent texts that were reflected bias, inappropriate conduct. It's my understanding that he attempted to reach.
So now watch this part. So these alleged text messages that they're not sure are real resulted in City Manager Vicky Gaynor putting a written reprimand in Chief Ramie's personnel file. Okay, we're not sure they're real though, but it warranted. They're not even trying at this point. They really aren't. They've had so much protection for so long, they think they're in the clear. We might have to take some heat, but you know, so what? We're the boss.
Reach out to the parties that were offended initially, and his effort to apologize, and his efforts were rebutted or refused, and he was not permitted to. So to the extent there's criticism of Chief Ramie that today was the first instance he apologized, it's my understanding that he had made those efforts earlier, but was not permitted to do so. So in order to remain intellectually honest and recognize that Chief Ramie had acknowledged and admitted that his conduct, his off-duty conduct, was inappropriate.
Intellectually honest.
I recommend that the city manager take appropriate action. It's my understanding that there's been documentation placed in his file. He's been coached and counseled regarding his inappropriate conduct, and that there's a permanent record of it in his personnel file. Because of the complication
over an alleged text, right? To answer your question, Jacqueline, it was not a sunshine law violation because that only applies to people who vote on the same board in a city or a county. So if these had been about something that was going to be voted on, like let's say two of the members of the commission who vote were saying, hey, you know, let's coordinate and vote a certain way on something that's coming up, that would be a sunshine law violation. But this was between two people who don't vote, the chief of police, or the assistant at the time, chief of police, and the city manager who does not vote. So it's not a sunshine law violation. As a matter of fact, they're supposed to talk to each other, just not like this. All right.
Complicated First Amendment issue. It's my legal opinion to this commission. It would be inappropriate and improper to terminate his employment because of that conduct. And one of my roles, as I mentioned earlier, is risk mitigation. And that is to advise this commission, or in this context, or on a more frequent basis, the city manager and the HR director on ways in which to mitigate risk, to avoid litigation, avoid liability. The First Amendment provides causes of action for unlawful employment practices, including unlawful termination for the exercise of free speech. Now, we can't sit here today and predict what might happen should a case be litigated through finality and go to a jury. That's not my role, and I can't predict the future. I can say that in the best practices of the HR community, the conduct by the city manager in taking the action that she did and creating an official documented record requiring review of the anti-discrimination, anti-retaliation policies and censuring Chief Ramie are consistent with best practices.
I just want to answer. I apologize, Jacqueline. I didn't understand what you were saying. Let me support what you're saying. She said the use of personal phones is not a good argument to make it unofficial and free speech. Those aren't absolute defenses. It sounds like you know exactly what you're talking about, so forgive me. I know what you're saying, and I'll explain for everybody. So if you make any communication on your public phones that you're issued, that's all public record, right? If you use your private phone, which they're claiming that Chief Ramie did, and he probably did, and you talk about private stuff to the city manager, that is private. But if you use your private phone and you're talking about, oh, I don't know, arresting somebody and coordinating the arrest of somebody, that is now public record. It is not the device that makes it public or private, public record or not. It is the content on the device when it's a private device. So absolutely, forgive me. I didn't understand what you were saying, and thank you for clarifying.
With regard to the allegations of criminal conduct and requests for additional investigation in that regard, that would be inappropriate. Because, again, there is an ongoing federal criminal prosecution. What the city does not want, as a legal matter and as an optical matter, is to be seen as attempting to interfere in an ongoing criminal prosecution of corruption of former members of the city employment. I don't make decisions. All I can do is give advice in the best interest of the city. That's what I've done here. Opinions may disagree, but in 18 years of experience as an attorney and 31 years, going on 32 years of public sector experience, the city has handled this correctly. Again, I cannot emphasize, I do not condone, excuse, or any way defend the inappropriate conduct, the comments, the text messages. It's uncalled for. But we can't put those issues, we can't put a need to do something before the best interest of the city. And I propose to the city that the city manager has performed within the best practices of the HR community. I'd also like to note that during my inquiry, I also interfaced with the city attorney, and we had.
I want to comment on this. He said it's. He made what's known as a straw man, right? He set something up as though that was the only option in that case when it's really not. He says, you know, I recommend against the city just feeling the need to do something instead of doing the prudent thing. Okay? See how he sets it up? You can do the dumbass thing, or we can do the prudent thing. Well, again, there are other options there, David, and you know this. And one of those options might be a suspension. One of those options might be taking a look at which I asked for, the city's policies on police conduct and seeing if they were gross violations of it. There are a lot of other options, David, the attorney David Marcy. And you know that so this guy's not even being slick at this point. I mean, if a lot of people are catching that.
Had reached out to the U.S. Attorney's Office, who has confirmed there's no indicia of criminal conduct by Chief Ramie. So to the suggestions that there is a crime that has occurred or that a criminal investigation is appropriate, the information that was the subject of the December 15th email, the public comment today, and my presentation to this commission is fully known to and within the possession of both the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the United States Attorney's Office, and United States District Court Chief Judge Mark Walker.
So, and that's going to be interesting because I get the sense that he's trying to intimidate Commissioner Judy Tinder here, and others, and he does it even more later on. But you know, we'll see because Federal Judge Mark Walker is any day is ready to issue sanctions if he finds them appropriate against the investigators and the prosecutors in the case versus Margo Anderson and James Finch. Why? Well, it starts to look pretty damn bad when 62 out of 64 counts have been dropped and 25 were dropped by the prosecutors themselves. That starts to look pretty bad. And the evidence that came out looks pretty awful. And the judges already back in July or June of last year has already rebuked them for this behavior. So yeah, there's a lot we're going to wait for. But they sure like to act like they're big giant authorities and everybody's walking on thin ice. I'm telling you who's walking on thin ice. It is you public servants, because the people who you serve are not happy with this. Oh, some of them are. I got it. But we have the right. Everybody has the right to make these assertions without the fear that you've been talking to the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office and everybody just better be cool. You're a hack, David. You are a hack, and not even a good one, honestly. Oh, powerful. I know you're powerful, but you're not believable.
If there is anything criminal in anything that has been alleged, those entities are the appropriate entities to do it. The city does not have the authority, nor would it be appropriate for the city to initiate a criminal investigation into the allegations here. So in sum, the allegations, as I've more fully articulated, were either unfounded, false at the outset, or, with the exception of the offensive text messages, lawful and legal. So with that, I'll accept any questions from anybody on the commission. Mr. Mayor, Madam C.
All right, that's all I'm going to do for tonight. I just wanted to go over that with you. The facacta lawyer, J. David Marcy, who, as I pointed out, is also the boss of all the lawyers at the Florida Police Chiefs Association. And the city never, ever pointed that out. I had to point it out, and then they acted like it was no big deal. All right. That's enough. That's enough for now. With that, I want to thank those of you who make this possible.
Have you received a speeding ticket for which you want no points placed onto your driving record? I'm El Saulene, 850-215-0628. Let me help you.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.
All right, lots more on this. Lots more on this. This is not punctuated. In fact, it's just getting started, honestly. And I'm really happy with the way it did. People classified themselves. People made idiotic statements, and over time will betray them. because the truth will have its day, especially in a case like this where it's cover up after cover up after cover up and Bolshevik after Bolshevik after Bolshevik. I also want to thank the Unknown Patriot. Thank you so much for your help in supporting my independent efforts, because that's the only way I can do this. Do you think if I worked for WMBB, I'd be able to tell you the truth? All right, I'll be back soon. Thank you.